Hello, everybody. This is Clint Macro and Matt Mallory with Meet the Pressers, and we're here at the 2026 NRA annual meeting in Houston, Texas. Ooh, I almost said Dallas.
Been a long
Houston,
day.
Texas. It's been a very long day. And we're at the Voices of the Second Amendment area, specifically at our booth, the Meet the Pressers Gun Freedom Radio Studio of Liberty.
I want to start saying that too. Get a little bit of Gun Freedom Radio. No, I don't do it as good as you. You got the Cheryl Todd aspect of that.
Yeah, I need to start wearing polka dots, I think.
I said that you did that. She goes, "Was he wearing a polka dot dress too?" I'm like, I envisioned you in a polka dot. It's a long day.
Yeah, we have a very important guest here that has a wonderful product, works for a great company. Chris Graham from Yankee Hill Machine.
Yeah.
Nice to be on the show. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming by.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So I actually have quite a few Yankee Hill attachments. And
Same
parts. Yeah, quick QD mounts and risers and all kinds of different things. So I'm familiar with a lot of the Yankee Hill product.
Yeah, that's really kind of a story of history. We are celebrating our 75th year this year, and it's been fun going to shows. I've been doing this basically my whole life. Over the last 20 years or so, seeing our product line and our customers transition from mostly parts and accessories for the AR-15, and then come into shows and say, "Oh, I didn't know you made suppressors," and we'd have 2 or 3. And now most people come in and they say, "Oh, I know your suppressors, or I own a few. I didn't know you made AR-15s and parts." And it's like, "Well, yeah, I've been doing that for 50 years."
Longer.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you actually came to us to talk about a very new and specific thing. So what's the new thing you want to discuss?
So our new suppressor is our Victra 20 gauge shotgun suppressor. So we debuted the Victra 12 gauge last year at SHOT Show, and the next logical progression is the 20. And it's been very well received. 20 gauge was kind of where I wanted to start because I knew there were a few other 12 gauges out in the market, and I wanted to be different, put out something that didn't have any real competition. The rest of my team talked me out of it and said, "Well, there's way more 12 gauges in the world than there are 20s." And I said, "All right, I understand that, but I'm still going to make a 20 gauge."
Good.
So now for the folks who prefer the 20 gauge, whether it be the smaller form factor or the lighter recoil, now they have a suppression option as well.
I'm curious. When you look at the movie industry, a lot of times you can see the popularity of a particular gun after movie. I know Lethal Weapon sold a ton of Beretta 92s. As a matter of fact, after I saw that movie, and I was young, I bought a Daisy pellet gun. It's like a Beretta 92.
Yep.
With the suppressed shotgun market, how much of an influence was the movie No Country for Old Men?
I feel like that was kind of an early influence because that's obviously a comparison a lot of people make. They're like, "Oh, like No Country for Old Men." It's like, yeah, but this is like real and it works.
Yeah, right. That thing they had in there was kind of fantasy. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that actually kind of kicked off a lot of the guys in the industry thinking about like, can we really do this? Because it was always just assumed for so long that it just couldn't be done. There's just way too much happening, way too many moving parts. And then guys start to become more innovative, more creative, and say, "Well, let's see if we can actually do this." And we knocked it out of the park with ours. It's super modular design, so you can take it from its full configuration down to half its size. In the case of the 20, that's from 10 inches all the way down to 4. And even in that 4-inch configuration, it really sounds awesome still. I've had new shooters come up shooting the 20 in the 4-inch configuration that are like, "What is that? Just like a muzzle weight?" It's like, "No, it's a sound suppressor and it works. Let's go shoot it."
So with the full length version, what's roughly the decibel reduction? Do you know?
We're in the low 130s on 20 gauge, and even in this 4-inch configuration, we're still below that 140 decibel hearing safe mark.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah.
So, give a little background because you'll hear people say silencer.
Yeah.
We know they don't silence it, but we'll hear that. And technically, the original patent, if I'm not mistaken, did call it a silencer.
Correct. Yeah.
But now more in the industry, it's more of suppressors, the more universal term.
Yeah, it's more PC to say suppressor. It's kind of like a tissue Kleenex kind of thing going on there.
Okay. Right.
So yeah.
So either way, you're right, but
either way,
it's not
you're
like
right.
saying clip when you really mean magazine. It's not that bad.
No, if you say clip it's a magazine, it's just wrong.
Right.
I'll die on that hill.
For sure.
But yeah, Maxim, when he came out with this silencer, he marketed it as a silencer. He said silent shooting. When the government said, "Hey, that sounds really scary," when they were drafting the NFA, they called it a silencer. And so, legal terms, it's a silencer because that's what the government calls it. Practical terms, it's a suppressor or it's a muffler. And I think honestly, if Maxim didn't do as good of a job as he did marketing a silent firearm, we probably wouldn't be in the situation today if he had called it a gun muffler.
Yeah, that's actually good. Then you compare it to a vehicle.
Right.
Gun muffler sounds like a good name.
We need a banned dog car muffler. I mean, gun muffler.
Yeah.
Band. Ladies and gentlemen, gun muffler.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a great point. Look at any other loud thing in this country. Whether it be lawn care equipment or industrial equipment or cars, they regulate the noise down to a certain level, or you're not going to get an approval, you're not going to, be able to run it in your HOA, whatever. But for some reason, guns, they want to keep loud. They want us to go deaf.
I've written tickets for
I
72.
wouldn't want them to regulate that. Honestly. But, I agree. As I understand it, in other countries, like it's considered poor form and rude to not have a
Required. Sure.
Yeah, if you want to shoot on public range or hunt on public land, in a lot of European countries, you have to have a suppressor because we have devices to make these less loud. Why wouldn't we use them? That'd be like if we all just decided to cut the mufflers off our cars and go drive around.
That would be a ticket. Over 72 decibels in New York State. I've written that ticket.
How much is that ticket for? I was just going to say
more than you want to get.
So it's more than what the price of a muffler would be.
Probably, yeah.
So I'm sure you've seen a great deal of spike in sales since the whole, the tax stamp doesn't cost any money.
Yep. Yeah, so we were kind of anticipating that because we had seen this, in years past, in the Obama administration when he kept talking about gun bans. Okay, well, we know gun sales are going to be high, so even if things start to slow down, I'm making guns. Same thing happened in 2016 with 41F. Suppressor laws were changing. The trusts were going to become more cumbersome to do the paperwork for. So basically, anything with a serial number, it was going to get sold before that date. And so we anticipated this. We expected a slowdown at the end of the year as people delayed those purchases, knowing if they waited a few weeks or months, they could save $200. And $200 that doesn't go straight to the government. Yeah. And so when that slowed down, I increased my production because I knew we were going to be in the same situation that as soon as January 1 hits, the demand is just going to spike. So,
smart. Yeah. See the writing on the wall.
The manufacturing of a suppressor for a shotgun, ultimately, does it cost more to make a shotgun suppressor than it does a solid projectile suppressor?
It does cost a bit more because there's more components to it. It's a little bit larger. We wanted to make it modular, so every single component can be broken down into a single piece so that you can clean it, so that you can customize it. And so, I may in a thin resonator 30 cal suppressor, that may have 10 baffles, but it's just the baffle. So basically, it's a cone. It gets welded in and that becomes a suppressor. Whereas in the case of the shotgun suppressor, I've got those 10 baffles. They're a little bit more complex. They've got a steel component that goes into them. And so it does increase the cost. It increases the price a little bit. But being the manufacturer, being the designer, I can design it around being manufacturing friendly and still keep the price lower than the company.
That's good. That's smart. I mean, I think that's, and keeping it in-house as much as you can, quality control.
Yep. Yeah, if we find an issue in the field or even in the manufacturing process, we can squash it right then and there and make the correction.
And what do you find as far as the calibers and what sells the best? Or, outside of the shotgun stuff, that's fairly new.
Yeah.
What are the other calibers? 22 up to 45-70, kind of what's your most common people want to buy?
Traditionally, 30 cal was our best-selling suppressor because most guys would want to suppress 308, 300 blackout, and 5.56. Yep. And that can would do a great job on those three calibers. Since we introduced the R9 several years ago, that's our 9mm can, but it's completely stainless steel construction. Mm-hmm. So that'll handle 308, 9mm, 300 blackout, 5.56, and some calibers in between. So not a lot of guys are doing the 9mm can and that size that'll handle full rifle power rounds. A lot of them stop at 300 blackout, and some even stop only at subsonic 300 blackout. And so that far and away has been our number one seller because it's such a good performer and it works on most guns that people are going to shoot. That was actually a direct result of a NRA conversation several years ago. When more and more people, obviously every day, are getting into suppressors. And at that time, we still had to wait, and we still had the $200 tax stamp. And so it was really big of people saying, I want one can that I can use on all my guns. So, of course, the logical question is, well, what are all your guns? Mm-hmm. And we found that the vast majority of people we polled wanted to suppress 5.56, 300 blackout, 9mm, or 308.
Yeah, that's on the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, my 4570 Henry. Yeah, that's nice to be suppressed.
Yeah. Well,
hearing protection.
then we came out with the R45, which is a 460 bore, and so that'll handle your 4570 no problem.
Cool.
Yeah.
What if I had a 3040 Crag that I wanted to suppress?
3040 Crag?
30 cal work on that?
30 cal should work fine, yeah. Yeah, our 30 cal resonator suppressor is not just a 308 suppressor.
Okay.
That'll handle 300 Remington Ultra Mag.
So I've got one of your muzzle devices for my AK-47.
Yep.
Full auto. So I gotta thread the muzzle because it's round.
Yep.
Slap that baby on there, and then I got a QD inside. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the Phantom system that you're using, we've had that exact same system for over 20 years now. Aesthetically, the mounts have changed over the years. When aggressive and spiky was cool, they matched that. When smooth and sleek became cool, now they match that. But the actual mounting interface between the suppressor and the mount has been the same. So
cool.
if you have a suppressor that you bought in 2005 for me, you buy a brand new mount, it's going to work perfect because that mounting interface is still the same.
Yeah, it's really it's definitely really helpful being able to quick swap it on guns, and then you don't have to have 50 different suppressors.
Yeah.
And especially with the fun gun shoots. Hey, I want to shoot that one suppressed. Okay, hang on.
Okay, click.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's good. Very good design.
And with the industry going toward hub being the standard, the 1 3/8 threads in the back of the can, it's great if we come out with a fantastic suppressor, but say you're married to dead air mounts.
Yeah.
You don't have to go and also factor in buying a whole bunch of YHM mounts. You can buy the dead air adapter, throw it in my YHM suppressor, and still run it on all your guns. And vice versa. The YHM mount is super dead simple. There's one moving part. There's no latches, levers, or buttons or anything. And so if somebody else comes out with a new can that you've just got to have, but you've got 10 rifles outfitted with my mount, again, you don't have to outfit all your rifles to match.
Pretty cool.
That was something the industry just kind of did on its own, out of goodwill and customer demand, and I think that's really been great for the industry.
Standard across the industry. Smart.
Yeah.
Super. So how do they check you guys out and give them your business?
So you can check us out on the socials at official YHM and at YHM.net on the web.
Cool. And check them out. Give them your business. Make sure you sign up for the giveaways. MeetThePressers.com/giveaways. Check out those sponsors. Check out our shows tomorrow if you're here at the NRA annual meeting and exhibits in Houston, Texas. Stay safe, and we will see you tomorrow with a bunch more interviews.
Thanks, Chris.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you.